Hey guys, Matt here. So Gevo had some earnings yesterday, and I want to talk about, I guess, what I think about them. And we're going to look at the information in a second, but just as an overview, I think the earnings were, I would say they were okay. Like, they didn't hit it out of the park by any means, especially if you look at it from a revenue standpoint, but from a, I guess, an operational standpoint, I would say it's pretty run of the mill. Nothing too fancy, nothing too terrible, just things that are going on. But there are a few things that I want to talk about that I am a little worried about. And yeah, let's get into it. So let's take a look at the earnings from the point of view of expectations and revenue and stuff like that. Well, let's start with the stock price. So this is the stock price as of right now, after hours on the 25th. Now, if you've been following Gevo stock price since yesterday, you know that it ran up quite a bit before earnings, and then it dropped down, I think, as low as 17%. So yeah, I was expecting the worst. And by the end of the day today, it calmed down to just a 6% loss. So yeah, it looks bad now, but it was a lot worse before, and I guess I'll take it. Now, as far as their revenues and stuff, analysts were expecting 407K in revenue, and Gevo reported 54K, not even 100K. Now, yes, now I'm not going to, let's talk about that first. So that was probably the primary reason why the stock price dropped so much during earnings. And I want to talk about that for a little bit. And that I'm not going to defend Gevo. Like those earnings were, those earnings, the revenue, whatever, like they were completely awful. I mean, I'm a Gevo shareholder. I care about the stock. I bought more shares today. But let's be real, this is not a To The Moon channel. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is good. Having said that, I am not sure what analysts were thinking, because I have never been an analyst before. I don't know how they value a stock or whatnot. I'm not sure what analysts were thinking when they expected Gevo to come up with 407K. Like, Gevo does not have any, at the time, any money-making capabilities. Now, maybe they thought what I thought in the very beginning, that their Laverna facility, once they came back online, that they will start, producing some revenue. But Patrick came out and said that that facility is not producing it. So maybe that's what they were thinking, but that's all I can come up with. So yeah, from a purely revenue standpoint, yeah, not the best at all, but I wasn't really expecting the best. Like, people who are in the Gevo right now aren't really buying Gevo for their performance right now. They're buying Gevo for the performance starting at the end of this year. Now, if we're doing this in 2023 and Gevo is reporting these numbers, that is a huge problem. That is a gigantic problem. But for right now, as far as I'm concerned, it gets a pass, at least for this year. Now, from an operational standpoint, I mean, just like most of the other earnings in the recent history, it is business as usual. They're making deals. I'm not going to read all this. You can pause and read this if you want to, but it's basically different deals that Gevo has made with various companies. We're talking Axis, Argo National Laboratory. They talked about their renewable natural gas facility. Now, that's something that's very exciting. Now, this is actually starting up now and is expected to reach a steady state operation in the second quarter of 2022. This right here is going to be their initial moneymaker, in which the revenue should start flowing in substantially by the end of this year, by next year. This right here is the exciting part, and this is on schedule. So this right here, I'd love to see it. I love to see it. He also talked about their hydrocarbon plant that's under construction in India. That's going to be installed in their Laverna facility in the fourth quarter of this year. So I'm pretty excited to see what comes of that. And apparently that is on track as far as we know. So that is good to hear. Now, we're going to talk about their Net Zero 1 update, because they changed some things. And at the end of this, I want you guys to tell me if I'm crazy, if I'm overthinking it, if I'm underthinking it, maybe if I'm wrong, because I have a bit of a problem here. So it starts off well, because they're changing for their Net Zero 1 project to use ethanol rather than isobutanol. Now, I am not an expert in this particular field, but apparently, according to the information here, they're going to be expected, a lot more money. That's all good to hear. a lot less perception of risk. Like, this is all good to hear, all good to see. Now, you can pause and read this if you want to. I'm not going to read any of this, but this isn't my point. This right here is good to see. Now, what I am concerned about is this right here. The Net Zero 1 being engineered now, expected to be operating in 2025. Now, this right here is my nitpick. And I could be completely off here. And if you're watching this and you're actually good at this, I want you to tell me if I am. Because in previous earnings, they talked about their Net Zero 1 plant coming up towards the end of 2024. Here, as of the slide, they're talking about operational in 2025. Now, one thing I value about a company is its ability to meet its own goals. And are they delaying it from 2024 to 2025? Am I understanding this correctly? Now, and if that's so, I guess that's not the end of the world, but for, to see, because, all right, all these take-or-pay contracts and stuff, I'm not going to show you that, but there's pretty much a bunch of money on the table. I think we all know that. But, it's not like but Gevo still has to grab the money. And it's not like Gevo is in the same room at the table. Gevo is like across town, and it still needs to do the work and get to the table to pick up the money. Gevo still needs to build a plant, and that plant needs to be on time, so that these contracts, all this money in contracts don't get delayed, don't get canceled, and stuff like that. And so I am a little worried about this 2025 thing. Maybe I shouldn't be, but it is something that I need to keep an eye on for the next couple of quarters. Again, I may be overthinking this, and I may be completely wrong, but this is just my opinion. So as far as what I'm doing with Gevo as a reaction to these earnings, it's just continuing to be business as usual. Like, the earnings didn't I'm already pretty excited in the Gevo right now. The earnings didn't make me more excited. Like I said, I don't think they knocked it out of the park. I'm certainly not selling my shares, obviously. But they didn't make me any less excited in the company. Except for the Net Zero 1 thing, which, I'm going to keep an eye on it for the next couple of quarters, but I'm sure it'll be fine. What's the worst that could happen, right? But yeah, I'm just going to keep putting money in the Gevo every single week as long as I'm down this much. And that will continue until Gevo gives me reason to believe otherwise, or until I start getting closer to my cost basis, which I have a long way to go. But anyways, take care, have a great day, and eat your vegetables.